No. Oh, Sunday. Yeah.
Seriously.
We can
Mark's
make our
over there
own.
drinking water, and we have no comments.
We can make our own comments, right?
No, I got.
Oh,
I didn't want to put. I didn't want to put my father's root beer inside blue. So.
Yeah.
Hey, what you do on your own
the kids are
time?
calling it these days.
Yeah, seriously.
Haven't seen that, Alex. Haven't seen that Alex Braun version yet.
Where did you get blue?
Wow.
Huh?
Where did you get blue?
I got this, and this was a popcorn bucket that you could put the popcorn
in the dino brain.
Oh, no.
in the dino head.
Is that
I've
lit up?
seen Temple
What
of
is
Doom.
$29.99, right?
No, it's
Yeah,
not
no
lit
shit,
up.
right?
It's just my light.
Oh,
But
it's your
no, you
light.
could put popcorn in there.
That's hilarious.
Altogether, $13.
Wait.
Wow.
That's a
Damn.
recent
Still.
purchase.
I bought this at the Thursday showing
That's
of
hilarious.
Jurassic Park Dominion.
Wow.
They had the
Really?
water
Well,
drink.
that was like
We're here to
7-year-old
talk
thing.
about Jurassic World Dominion,
Or
Mark.
Jurassic World. I keep saying Jurassic Park Dominion. It's Jurassic World. It's
That'd be like the Asylum version of this movie. They just call it Jurassic Park Dominion.
Jurassic Asylum would be awesome.
Jurassic Asylum would be awesome.
I wish they'd stay in one place instead of globetrot around the world. It's a great idea.
One of my problems with Jurassic World Dominion, we'll get into it, is that they do kind of just stay in one place again. It's like the premise: dinosaurs are all over the world, and we're going to
They go
spend
to
most of the
Malta?
movie on an,
Oh boy.
in
Oh
an island
boy.
base.
Here he comes.
Wow.
Oh my.
Wow.
That's more entertaining than the movie.
I was
I
going
know,
to say,
right? Yeah.
That's
with
even
practical
scarier than the
special
movie.
effects. This
Take it
is
away,
everything.
Colin.
That's even
Action.
scarier than the movie.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
Okay, bye, kids.
All right, bye.
You adults are talking now.
Yeah.
Wait, no, we're talking. And who are we? We are Earth's Mightiest Critics. We're
Yeah,
here
there
to
you
talk
go.
about Jurassic World Dominion, the world's #1 movie, I guess, right now. $400 million global box office for its opening.
Let's see those legs make it 2 weeks, huh?
All right, Don's gonna have to mute.
Yeah.
Okay, I will mute. I got you.
It's okay. And especially if you have something to say. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, Don. No, all right.
Oh, that's good aim.
That hat flew better than I thought it would.
You can't get that at the premiere.
No, you can't.
Well, all right. So I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have Don Shanahan on mute.
I'm
AKA
in, I'm
Fred
in, I'm
Pebbles
in.
and Bam
Yeah.
Bam. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. He's back. David Fowley of, Don, you are from 25 Years Later and Every Movie Has a Lesson and Cinephile History podcast. David J. Fowley of Keeping It Real. We've got Jurassic World Dominion, also from Cinephile History podcast, and Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck, aka Mark the Movie Saurus of Spoiler Room and Special Mark Productions, sapping the brains out of a blue velociraptor.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
dug the brains out of the T-Rex, but that tasted like popcorn. So
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
Scientists have wondered for millions of years. Well,
yeah. Now
I think
we
they've
know.
been scientists for millions of years, but
Knowing's half
yeah,
the
I want to set the table here. I may have been unfair in, when I tweeted out the tease for this show this morning. I said we're going to be talking about Jurassic World Dumb Onion because we're going to peel back the layers of mediocrity.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of like showing my hand beforehand. Am I the only one who I didn't hate this movie? I had it registered not at all. I have forgotten most of what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I only saw it like 36 hours ago. So does anyone else here love Jurassic World Dominion? Okay, let's start with
Crickets.
Okay, Mark liked it. Okay, good. This will give us some balance.
Mark,
to
synopsis.
things.
Yeah. Here it comes.
Oh man.
And
Mark.
I'm muting again. No.
Mark, I'll give the synopsis for you. I'm gonna extend that olive branch because tonight might be a little bit rough. Again, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time bashing the movie because it doesn't stir those passions in me really. But dinosaurs are running rampant in our world, and there are complications. And it'd be great if there was a movie that was concerned about those complications, but we are yet going back to another secret compound where they are trying to genetically manipulate something that's going to cause world devastation. There you go, Mark. That was my olive branch to you. That's my favorite.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's about what I was going to say, actually.
It's like it's as if there's a biosyn going on in the world.
Oh,
You picked up on that too? Yeah. Subtle. Very subtle, this movie. All right, Mark. you liked it, all right?
I did.
Okay, but you didn't love it.
No. My 21-year-old honorable son number 1, he really enjoyed it. He enjoyed it a little more than me. So it hit that demo. Okay.
Has he seen the other Jurassic World movies?
Yes, he has.
Okay.
So
trained him well, you have.
I have. He watched them all.
Unlike the bedwetters I got, right?
Oh Lord.
He's watched them all, and he a number of years ago he discovered with his buddies online horror films, and so we're getting him there.
You've done well.
He's definitely got his own tastes, which is awesome, and we have quite a debate. But this one, he enjoyed it more than I did. I enjoyed seeing the original trio back.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy them. I enjoyed actually part of what they were hinting at in this film in the beginning with the whole humans and dinosaurs trying to live together. Loved that bit. And then we get to the locusts.
It's biblical proportions.
Well, I was trying to do the math here, and I'm like, you're really taking your time on this. If you go by the mass of locusts that you have, they should have wiped out the grain belt in 24 hours already.
Right.
It's this whole from Oregon. No, that should have been already done. And I think that's the problem is it loses focus. We bring the 3 originals back and they fall right back into their characters. I love the banter and everything. I loved that part of it. I even loved the whole idea of Ian Malcolm and what they did with his character, which, we're already talking spoilers, being kind of the double agent guy. And I enjoyed the idea of the underground world trading dinosaurs and that, all of that parts were really good. We just never stay focused on those elements too long. And we end up starting, especially when we get the groups together. This should be an epic moment, having the Jurassic World folks meet up with the Jurassic Park folks. You're like, awesome, great. And what are they doing? They're facing basically another version of the T-Rex, and they're doing the exact same steps that we've seen. And it's actually where those two, I didn't even mind the writing and the dialogue. I thought it was okay, but it was like they fired someone and they said, okay, write the rest of this movie, because they didn't like where it was going, because where the dialogue was kind of sketch before, but all right, the dialogue and the whole plot really goes south when you have these two groups meet. And it should actually get better. It actually gets worse. Like they had no clue how to juggle these two. This is where I was looking for the James Gunn, even the JJ, someone who knows how to handle multiple characters. Someone who at least handles multiple characters and give them all something to do without taking away from them. And they just took away from everybody, to where once this group gets together, there was no difference between any of them.
Right. Well, I mean, that's sort of the problem with this becoming a big ensemble movie. I feel like this is just speculation, but since the last movie came out, we've had like a couple of Avengers films and these big team kind of ensemble movies have become kind of all the rage. When they do the big hero shot, there's like 8 people in this frame. I'm like, this is not the end of Endgame here.
Can't somebody get eaten?
Well, that, and also I remember when Chris Pratt used to be like the star of this franchise, and he even gets subsumed. I mean, I kind of forgot that he was in this movie after a certain point. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I don't feel like they know what to do with any of these characters. I don't feel like this movie knows why it needs to exist, except for this tired 20-year-old like Monsanto argument of like, oh, did you know that corporations buy special crops that can't be used by other farmers and they're putting everyone out of business and they're greedy? I'm like, yeah, that's great. Plus, Campbell Scott, an actor that I generally really like, he's playing a weird mashup of Tim Cook and Mark Zuckerberg. We saw, I think, a much better version of that in Don't Look Up late last year.
I knew you were gonna say that. I was like Mark Rylance vibes on this, and
he has the best. He has the best character scene in the movie, and I think you all know what that is.
I do.
refresh me, because again, I've forgotten most of
it. Yeah.
Basically, I was watching this with my 15-year-old daughter at the screening, and we both turned to ourselves like, when he, and it's basically he's basically physically epitomizing how we all feel watching this movie. So, and the third act of the movie, when he basically physically freaks out and he goes,
yeah.
Yeah,
he does like the Kermit the Frog move. Yeah.
I'm like, it's interesting that you thought
David
that there were
Mamet raised you
characters
up.
in this.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Right.
I mean, that was the best character moment. I mean,
no, I mean that there's characters at all is quite a discovery. It's up there with creating like the little sap with the mosquito in it. That you found a character in this.
Yeah.
There's like 4 ideas that would have made really great movies in this, but they never stay on any single one of them. They threw it all against the wall, and you never develop, because one, I like the idea of the underground dinosaurs, like I mentioned before. They could have done a whole thing to where they captured Blue and the baby, and the whole thing is just Pratt and you know, the world crew looking into this and trying to rescue Blue and the baby and whoever, because the daughter wants to, while also trying to protect the girl from the second one. Who's the genetic
one? I was gonna say, if you could name those characters for me, I'd appreciate it.
Come on, Mark.
Omar
baby,
Mark, what are their names? What is Chris
Danielle
Pratt's
Pineda's
name?
character?
What's Bryce Dallas Howard? Owen Grady.
Claire.
Come on, Mark, come on.
Maze. The kid is Maze. I know Maisie.
Chris Pratt plays
Maze.
Chris Pratt plays his name is Jake Jawline. Bryce Dallas Howard is Jane Jawline, aka Heels.
No. He's Owen. Heels? She's May. The girl is Maisie, or Maze as they refer to her.
This is supposed to be the trivia expert of the group. What the hell is he doing?
Yeah.
Mark.
And I did what?
The baby has a name. It's Beta.
Oh, see?
Yes, that's right. Yep. You're right, Beta. Well, that doesn't come till later in the movie when Beta gets named by Maze in the lab.
Oh my gosh!
And
then Wu shows up.
Has anyone ever seen Deja Vu, the Tony Scott film?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
All right. So there's a moment in that. It starts out as kind of a basic police procedural investigation of an explosion with Denzel Washington.
Totally.
And then there's a scene. It's one of those scenes in a movie, and Jurassic World Dominion has one of those where it just goes what? And this one it goes in Deja Vu. It's like Val Kilmer suddenly goes, "Oh, by the way, we ripped a hole in the space-time continuum, and you can time travel." And you're like,
right.
This one is like, she was able to change the genetic code with a thought. And you were born immaculate conception, and it was like, whoa, what the hell is going on?
They didn't necessarily say thought, but she experimented on herself. I will defend it there. They didn't say, and she was experimenting on herself. She didn't just change it with thought.
Right.
She was doing experiments. It was still immaculate conception, yes, but she was not doing it with thought. She was doing experiments on herself to try to save her child.
And that's exactly what this movie needs, is more conception.
Raise your hand if you would have preferred that they would have dropped the clone kid angle.
Look, here I'm going to confess something, guys. Mark, you're going to know exactly where I'm coming from on this, because every year that an Evil Bong movie comes out, we do a review of it. We just did one a couple weeks ago, the quote-unquote final one, and we're talking about the quote-unquote final Jurassic World movie.
Hopefully.
Yes, but every time one of these comes out, I have amnesia about the previous film. I have no idea what happened, who was in it, what it was about. I have to look it up on IMDb to get the synopsis. When Jurassic World Dominion opens up, and they're going through that kind of like a CNN kind of news package of like the dinos are everywhere and all this. Yes, and then they talk about Maisie. I'm like, wait, now they're introducing clones into Jurassic World. I had completely forgotten that she was a part of the second movie. A movie I actually liked. I liked Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, and but the only thing I remember, David, about that movie is going to see it with you, and I think your daughter was there. Like we were at the IMAX at Navy Pier, and I think she was on the podcast. But it was a complete blank slate. It wasn't until the movie was almost over I was like, oh yeah, she was in the second movie. Weird. But I feel like I don't remember her being integral to that story, and I don't know exactly why they needed to tell this third story, especially because it all ends up happy. It's a summer popcorn blockbuster, and I hate to have to write it off, but I feel like I could have just said, I don't need to see this movie. I know what happens in it, but I feel like if I go down that route, then I'm just going to be dismissing everything, and I'll blow my chance to be surprised every once in a while.
That's the funny thing about what Mark's talking about is we've got all these ideas thrown into the screen, all these cocktail napkins stitched together with lipstick and push pins and whatever to create this storyboard of a movie.
Use gum.
Right. So we've had all these ideas and all these implications, and you bring all these extra characters and legacy characters in here, and by the time you get to the end, what did we fucking do? I'm like, we kind of don't have the locust done. We've busted up one more facility.
We saved the climate. We
didn't even save that. Like, we saved the one girl, we saved the one raptor, and that's it. Like what, everything else is still broken. The biggest and best concept that Mark framed out that I agree with is like, you have humans and dinosaurs living together. What are the implications of that, underworld and otherwise? And that still isn't really fixed, cured, or given much trajectory either. So like, to do all of this for 2 hours and 20 minutes and kind of still land at the same slippery foothold, what a waste of time.
You're still heading off. You're still heading off with the helicopter, though this time you don't even bother to reprise the John Williams theme. At least that's what they were doing with the other one, which kind of helped you remember the magic. They didn't even reprise it. It didn't even show up, like, barely at all.
I mean, speaking of which, this is the most unmemorable Michael Giacchino score.
Yeah, that's
like,
bad.
Giacchino
is so good, you know.
I
couldn't believe it was Giacchino. Yeah.
Because raise your hand if you've seen Lightyear.
Not yet.
Just me? Okay.
I'm going to.
You're going to get a hell of a Giacchino score in that.
Wasn't invited.
What? Really?
I didn't get the email.
Okay.
Whoa.
You can fly to Phoenix and come with me on Wednesday if you want.
There you go. See?
Well,
no, but this is the second movie in a row that put too many plot points in one thing. Like, I would have been so happy last movie, Fallen Kingdom, if you would have had a 2-hour volcano adventure. Like, that's 2 hours. Is escape the island before it blows up, save the dinosaurs. That would be a thrilling 2 hours. But that's like 45 minutes of a really dumb haunted. Yeah, about half of that movie. Then you end up at the haunted auction house thing. Like, that's just dumb.
Insane.
I didn't mind that at all, because at least it was trying to do something different. And I think Fallen Kingdom was pushing the horror element a lot more than any other movie since the first two, maybe.
The thing about Fallen Kingdom, and hi Mike,
what's up?
Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing all right. The thing about Fallen Kingdom is, they of course they want to set everything up for a sequel, but there were parts in that movie where I genuinely wondered if they were going to get out of that compound, or if it was going to be a situation where they didn't get out of the compound. They got to find some other excuse to make a third movie. When Fallen Kingdom ended, I felt like it was a great opening for a sequel, but I also felt I don't really want to watch that movie.
I mean, I was perfect ending.
I was kind of done with it.
Because if that's your sunset of like, oh man, humans and dinosaurs together, that could be a hell of a sunset.
That's the imagination running wild.
That's all you need.
I mean, this movie already solidified that I think like humans are awful, and we should just have a comet meteor come and destroy us all.
John jokes about rooting for the dinosaurs, but the only time I was invested in a character in this entire movie was the T-Rex at the end. And I was like, oh, he's got to do
That's
it.
what they want.
Oh yeah.
Like, that was it. That was the only time I was like invested in something was doing that. Has
same thing with Fallen Kingdom. What's the most emotional moment in that movie? The OG Brachiosaurus rising up into the lava, and you're like tearing up, like, oh
yeah.
God.
Like, you mean when the boat is leaving the
island? When the boat's leaving and the Brachiosaurus is getting enveloped in wow, you're like,
and if that's your lasting image, like if that movie did all volcano and ended right there, Crusher. What a great ending of like implications.
And to back up what you're saying
for new Land Before Time. Let's John Favreau this.
We would definitely have to go back. Yeah.
Oh my.
To back up what you're saying, Will, about the T-Rex, unfortunately, that's basically the same thing that they've done with T-Rexes before. T-Rex has always got to come in and be the hero dinosaur in all the other Jurassic movies, and it just gets old, and it's just a retread. And the funny thing about including the Jurassic Park trio with the world trio, if you will. Is there a world trio? Maybe just a duo.
Yeah.
Well,
the
duo.
kid, if you count
Kid.
trio.
Yeah.
You got the kid now, yeah.
Alright.
But
I
every
gotcha.
time they meet, it's like this Scooby-Doo thing. Like, hey, you're Dr. Grant. Hey, you're Ellie. Hey, you're you're the one who trained raptors.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the are you?
Oh, and by the
going on
time,
here?
The whole Force Awakens thing where they're going like right at the camera with like like when you see Han Solo walk into the cockpit, he says, "Chewie, we're home." They play like
and then you got
they do the same thing like when you see
don't
Sam
compare
Neill,
that.
you're like,
No,
No,
actually,
right.
that's good. No, it's right because I actually got a lot of Star Wars vibes out of a lot of this movie in many ways. The first one was major Phantom Menace vibes when they're talking about like crop politics,
Trade and burn.
and locusts and shit. And then also like Star Wars has this. Now I'm not caught up on clones, but I'm not caught up on the shows like you guys are. I can only go off the movies, but I always felt like all the movies they would find like these little things to focus on that are part of the canon and explode them. So like for instance, like one of Dr. Grant's personality quirks in this one is that he's got his hat that he had in the first one, and then he wants his hat back. B.D. Wong, who literally played scientist number 1 in Jurassic Park, needs to have a redemption arc. Like it was very Star Wars to me, like in terms of the way they set everything up and played more with like, hey, this is the canon of Jurassic Park. We're going to play with that a little bit, as opposed to just making a fluid story. You know, like it was more like, hey, look, you remember this from this movie? And you remember this from this one? And remember that Dr. Grant has a hat and an ascot, and he wants those back, man. You know, like it was...
Well, that's sort of the problem, Will, is that they've, B.D. Wong's character has been in a couple of these movies now. It's almost like they keep trying to restart the first movie over and over and over again. Even within the same like new franchise, like Jurassic World is ostensibly this generation's Jurassic Park, although I maintain that Jurassic Park is this generation's and all generations Jurassic Park. We talked about Dr. Grant and and Ellie and Ian Malcolm. By the way, if anything happens to the live stream, $20 to the first person to say Ian freeze. But sorry, I couldn't let that go. But I think my problem is you think about Jurassic Park. It's not, we don't go back to that movie just for the spectacle of it or the special effects or the innovation. We go back to it partially because of the characters and the ideas we've already established that the characters just kind of serve the plot to move things from here to there to there. And there's so many of them, as evidenced by that big hero shot at the end, that, the movie doesn't care about them really. But what about the ideas here? Not that I need to see a new dinosaur, because every one of these movies is like, this is the super max predator. We've never seen anything like this before. I don't need to see necessarily one of those, but where's the awe factor? Where's the thing to make a little kid go to this movie as like his first film and just be like, or as not even maybe his first film, because seeing a giant dinosaur on the screen would probably wow him, but someone who's seen all 6 movies. It doesn't feel like they're trying to give us anything that's going to wow us. It's just more product.
Binging. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike. Go.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the characters thing, because Steven Spielberg, like the reason Jaws worked was because we remembered Roy Schreider's character. You remember the man in on the boat who who was in charge of the thing, and
Quint,
these people very well. And with Jurassic Park, you kind of remembered how Sam Neill and Laura Dern's characters, like they wanted to, like Laura Dern wanted to have kids and Sam Neill didn't. And then he kind of excessively learned how to become a father by taking care of, Dr. Hammond's grandchildren in the film. And, it had a small arc to it, and that was it. And like these new Jurassic World movies, what was, Chris Pratt's arc other than like knowing how to tame raptors, just going whoa, and like that's
the hand thing. Oh my god, the hand thing.
There was potential there, and I think a stronger screenplay that was concerned about character development could have really capitalized that, because we see bits of Bryce Dallas Howard's character's arc in this movie. Because if you think, I think she has the biggest arc of this whole series, because when you think about it, she started off as like the like the CEO, or not the CEO, but like a high-ranking member of Jurassic World staff. And by the end, she's like, you know, she's leading the resistance against the company and all this stuff.
She's the Greenpeace warrior, yeah.
Right, but it's, you know, the idea is there, but the resonance isn't. I think part of it is because it's, you know, that was like 9 hours of content ago. That, you know, we go from this one character to this, you know, next stage of the character's life, and by the end of it, you're like, oh yeah, she used to work for Jurassic World. Weird. Instead of instead of it being something you really follow from beginning to end.
Spielberg just did the smart thing. He's like, you know what? I've learned from the Lost World not to do a sequel to one of my films. I'll give it to you. You screw it up, and then years later, George Lucas learned to do that.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if Spielberg learned that though, because he made Crystal Skull. But okay,
that's true.
That's
because
he listened to George's advice to use space aliens.
But I binged all of them again just before the movie. And my wife yelled at me, but I'm like, I watched the laser disc. I don't have the laser disc hooked up upstairs. Well, because she likes them too, and we watched most of them. The first one is the best. I will say that probably out of watching all of them, I did like Fallen Kingdom if you watch it, because it was what you guys were kind of mentioning. I know some people say, well, that one was so dumb, I've seen online. I'm like, no, because they were trying to take it in a new direction. I mean, pardon my reference, you know, I'll Die on the Hill. I enjoy The Last Jedi. It was kind of similar to that approach in that they were taking it off the island. They were expanding it by having these dinosaurs get out into the wild, be it through sketchy people, and eventually they escape and they're all out in the world now. That's taken away from the whole island concept that we kept doing. And they promised this at the end to where it's expanded. They showed a montage at the end of Fallen Kingdom where there's terrorists with the embryos and they have other people, you know, they played at it in the first Jurassic World to where they were militarizing dinosaurs. Think about this final movie to where you still have you know, our Greenpeace warriors fighting them, trying to have weaponized dinosaurs, and you actually have like wars going on now, like in the desert or whatever, between people who have trained dinosaurs and the implications of that.
Yeah, imagine, and this might look goofy, but I'm convinced there's a way you could pull it off. Like
okay, Doctor,
don't
sharks with laser beams attached to their head.
I know where you're going.
No, I'm thinking
machine guns on it,
like a velociraptor suicide bomber, or you know, a pterodactyl. You know, like a kamikaze pterodactyl.
They have done.
Yeah, imagine pterodactyls versus drones. I mean, it's no less ridiculous than anything that we're talking about in this movie.
Okay, Ian. Let's say a raptor has a backpack and is making its way towards the Vatican. Don't you think everybody's going to scram? Who's it going to blow up except the raptor?
The Pope.
Well, the Vatican might care.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about a backpack. I'm talking about, but to Mark's point, talking about like the terrorists with the embryos, right? Let's just say this takes place a few years after the end of Fallen Kingdom. You know, a lot has probably happened in this world since then. You could have someone, you know, assuming you can tame or at least bind a raptor, you could strap something to it. Yeah. And then even if you just have it like the back of a van, you open up the thing and, you know, it runs at a building, it can just run in and blow the thing up.
Well, that was supposed to be the 2 laser guided raptors that
right. Yeah.
They show up kind of like that was,
and we get them and it's like they're guided by pheromones, which is weird because they aim the laser at one person and then they aim the laser at another person. The same dinosaur gets 2 different scents. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I wish it took place in a lecture hall where, like, you know, it was like, you know, some student with a laser pointer was, you know, going.
I've seen Over the Hedge. I know what happens with laser pointers and everything. Yeah.
Or a Cineplex. Like, remember that thing from a few years ago? I haven't seen it much anymore, but there used to be a craze where people would bring the laser pointers and point at the screen. I'm so glad that's over. Hey, we're going to pull over for a moment to look at some fun comments.
I love those comments.
What did it do?
Let's see.
It didn't do much.
You know, LeDeshaun Williamson III says, what it do? Don't know. And then
that's
also
exactly what I felt after. That's what I said after this movie.
Don't make any sense.
Why didn't the drug dealer just call the army and the Marines to doggy style?
I like your style. Mr. Williamson, you're
Is
a
that like
scholar.
Snoop Doggy style or actually the position doggy style?
I think
I don't
position.
Is that how they make
Both.
peace with the dinosaurs?
Either one
Either
works.
way.
And
Either
and
one
I-
does work.
So
I know
life
I'm
really
in
did
the-
find a way.
Yikes. I don't want to make it a habit of shutting down live streams early, but I think I need to go and like ponder what this could possibly mean because wow, it's conjuring up a lot of images. No,
But-
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
The scene in Malta could have been what the whole movie was, in all honesty, because that part from start to
Maybe.
finish was
It was
it was
boring.
interesting, and you get to introduce a new character. It's bad. It's one of those things. You've got 6 legacy characters, and the person I was most interested in, besides seeing the original trio, was our new pilot who
Okay.
shows up.
Okay.
Oh,
Mark, but that-
Tailspin, you mean?
but
That's
the-
cute.
All right, Mark.
I like
That was-
Launchpad
that was-
McQuack, yeah.
That was Monty
Token
from
inclusion.
I know.
Rescue Rangers.
That was very Star Wars to me too.
I found her character though very interesting.
I
at
liked
least,
her, and I
agree.
liked her
I agree,
character,
and her
but Mark,
performance in that. Yeah.
I liked her and I liked her character, but Mark, that adds like 9 characters,
Well,
like
I know.
protagonists that we have, humans that we have to follow,
Mm.
and in the end, none of those 9 are eaten or even bitten.
Right. Or even
Nice.
well, see, I thought they were gonna ace Ian. And you get that scene where the
Right?
big
Yeah.
now
I was rooting for that.
not that Ian.
That would've
The
been- that would've
iguana.
been great.
I wanted
Wow.
a Samuel L. Jackson moment from Deep Blue Sea.
You're
Well, you
damn
know, you
right. I
get-
would love that.
Now
You
that
know,
would
that
be
would've
a
been a
cool
Or Sam
character
Jackson
to
moment
bring
from
back to
Jurassic
this
Park.
one.
That
Wait,
would
did
have
he die
been
in that
great.
movie?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
that would have been a
and-
great thing
I
to like
remember.
revolve around because he almost does that in the first one.
Right.
He tries to save the day, messes up. But yeah, that would have been a great emotional
Awesome.
beat. It would have been. This is the problem I think a lot of these legacy sequels or whatever you have, because I had the same problem with Top Gun. Has everyone seen Top Gun in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the same problem. They didn't have any balls to kill anybody in that movie, which is something
Well,
that I was really upset with
yeah.
because like they made a thing in Maverick about how it's
Wait.
2 miracles on top of miracles and everything's got to happen and then no one dies, everyone finishes it perfectly.
Somebody did die though.
Well, not Val
Yeah, but
Kilmer
that
did,
was wrong.
Iceman.
Yes.
the Iceman died.
Yes,
But,
it's
He was
Bitch.
sacrificed to the
He was
plot.
iced.
this is the same thing. Like in the first Jurassic Park, and I'm sorry, you have to compare them because you're bringing the
Yeah.
characters back.
Oh,
in
yeah.
this thing.
Totally
Yeah.
true.
In the first one, they have that badass Muldoon guy, and he
Yep.
has probably one of the best moments where he's like, "Oh shit, clever girl, he got you."
Clever
got me."
girl.
And you know, like they had people that actually died. Samuel L. Jackson died.
Yes.
Like people got
Dennis
hurt.
Nedry.
Nedry, yeah.
Nedry gets killed. Like this one, it's like
You only
Yeah.
only Samuel or the Campbell Scott character, and you know he's gonna die. I mean, come on.
yeah,
Especially because one of the characters says, you know, you're going to be gored to death by these things. And I'm like, okay, you know, there's foreshadowing, and then
Now I
there's
can
just
leave.
like copy pasting in the script. Yeah, it's
How many of
And-
you
but
caught
it's
that
different
that
now,
was
'cause I have 2 of
Dodson
those
from the
that are-
first one?
Yeah.
what's that?
How many of you caught that was Dodson from the first one?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I cut that.
The guy with
Dodson.
the shaving
barber
cream
saw.
can talking to
Yeah.
Nedry. Yeah. Same. That's
I
supposed to
would-
be Campbell Scott.
if Dodson's scene, I'm gonna be Nedry now and be like, see, no one cares.
Yeah, nobody cared.
Nobody cares.
I totally, I did
That should
not
matter,
I did not
but
catch
then it
that.
doesn't. You
That was
all you
Ian's
do is
Penny
Dodson.
Benjamin moment.
They even had like a
Oh,
Wayne
right,
yeah,
lookalike in
pretty
the
much.
movie. There was like,
Yeah.
oh, here's like a fat guy in like
Yeah.
the same suit with the glasses, and he's like giving shit to one of the characters. I'm like,
I saw that. Yeah.
why is that there? Like,
Because I was sitting behind some fellas watching this movie, and they were of the younger crowd, but one of the guys nudged
Was
his,
it loud as
his
town?
friend and says, "Oh shit, it's Newman."
No.
I thought that guy had come back to life
No,
to
son.
appear in Jurassic World.
yeah, just have Jerry Seinfeld just come in and say hello, Newman.
The first moment I realized this movie had no balls is when the locusts, the dino locusts are introduced,
Mhm.
and you had a perfect. I mean, that was a cool like visual,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a perfect moment for these locusts to annihilate and devour those 2 children.
Yes.
Yes, but they didn't go there.
No.
What the heck?
They-
I love
Not
that
even that.
5 of you are rooting for killing children.
Yes.
Wait,
I mean, Jurassic Park.
Always.
3, they
No.
killed
in
children.
later.
That's the opening of the movie of
It's true,
Jurassic
it's
Park
true,
3.
yeah.
right.
You know,
that's
What-
right.
Two, wasn't it? Didn't two?
Was it 2?
2.
Two.
think you're right,
Two is
yeah.
when the girls on the
Body
island
count
get-
it too.
And then
Oh yeah,
and the mom
when
screams
little
and it
baby
cuts right
raptor
to Jeff
sees the little
Goldblum.
girl.
Yeah.
3 is the guys in the front of, you've got a third film. You got the third film in this epic franchise made hundreds of millions of dollars in the worst comped parasail scene that looked like it was from a direct to video. I watched, because binging them, I watched 3 and I'm watching that, and they get to the parasail scene and I'm like, oh my God, that looks awful.
It does. With the boat in the mist and then the blood splatters. Like, what the fuck did that?
When he and the kid are, it's literally, you could so tell it was like TV quality compositate, you know, and that's what you had in the third one. I think, again, I found entertainment in here. I like that there were more dinosaurs in that, and and there were some tense moments, but we don't stay anything on long enough for a beat. And in the end, like you guys say, this was teased as the bookend to the franchise, and it was no more epic than the last 3 films. As far as its ending goes, you know. And when they were going to do the big fight between the whatever, the biggest predator on land, which wasn't that much bigger than our legacy T-Rex, I almost thought they had the balls to kill the T-Rex practically in a non-ceremonious way, which on one hand, the inner child of me was like, oh, that sucks. On the other hand, I'm like, oh, did they just kill the most iconic character out of the entire franchise? Like practically off-screen Godzilla style of, you know.
Well, how about teams up with the hot dog finger people from Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Speaking of which, how about the introduction of that one dinosaur that it was like a cross between Wolverine and Edward Scissorhands?
Yeah.
At that point, it just turns into like boss fights.
Like, what are we doing here?
It's not even like a real thing, because
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
What made the Jurassic Park stand out so much was that at the time when it came out, people never really saw a realistic depiction of a dinosaur brought to life on screen. And not only that, it was sustained with an incredible amount of tension. Like when you first see that the T-Rex in the rain, it's just the build up to get into that vehicle to bam when he hits the windshield and gets him like that.
The water.
I just remember as a kid, like I was seeing some other movie in the theater across from me, and just I could just hear boom, boom, boom the whole time.
Has there been a scene?
You're gonna have that experience again because it's one of those things that happen once and you don't recreate it. Spielberg knew that after Lost World, but we're just looking at zombie, Jurassic Park, and we have been for a while.
Yeah, I want to go on to what you're saying though, and I will be positive about this movie in one sense. And so I was going to hook on to what Don was saying about try to focus on one thing. Or I don't know if Mark said that, whatever. But the effective sequence to me was the one where Bryce Dallas Howard is stuck in the parachute, and then also when she's underwater. That gave me very big, because like you guys were saying, not only did you have great characters in the first Jurassic Park, but you can honestly say Jurassic Park is probably one of the hardest PG-13 movies in terms of scares and tension. I mean, I've watched that with my kids, and they might not be peeing the bed, but they were terrified of that movie even today, like we watched a couple years ago. And I think back about how terrified I was, especially with the raptor busting out of the wall and the electronic thing. And like that was the first time in any of these Jurassic World movies I felt any kind of like, I don't mind.
And it's over in 2 minutes.
It's over in 2 minutes.
There's something cool about the red hair and the green water, and she's,
it was
it reminded me of Amber Heard in Aquaman.
Oh boy,
that's a big pile of shit.
I have nothing to say.
I need
someone Malcolm's that into the bedroom scene with Depp and Heard. That's got to be a thing. But no, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Will, and I think there was some. I did like the parachute bit. The thing with the water, I was distracted because I believed that she was submerged in like a tank, but I knew that the dinosaur was a CGI effect. And I kept thinking, like, it doesn't feel like the top of her. It feels like the top of her head should be peeking up above the water. It was
Or
like
her hair
yeah.
floats,
like-
or
who
hair
knows, right?
floating.
or
Yeah.
something, because
Yeah.
it seemed like her forehead was right at the water line.
Mhm,
And I'm
mhm.
like, well, where's the rest of it? Like, this thing would have been able to just smell the top of her, you know,
Yeah.
luscious red
Pantene
roots.
Pro V, right?
Or at least see her there. I mean, it's
Yes.
not like
Yeah.
Well,
I think anything would censor.
Or establish that it's one of those dinosaurs that smells better than it sees or something. They've done that, you know, before in other movies.
Well,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's but as far as these dinosaurs go, one of the things I think has been lost, and or at least not followed through on, and we kind of got that in Jurassic World, the idea of they have to juice up this new theme park. They've opened up a new one
Yeah.
like 5
Mhm.
miles away from the original Crystal Lake where everything bad went down.
Crystal Lake.
But the idea of you've got these giant caged dinosaurs and a
Yeah.
little kid on his cell phone where there's like a T-Rex like breathing down his neck behind glass, and he's just like interested in, you know, Twitter. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, yeah.
But and I think there's something to this idea of, in the original Jurassic Park, it takes a while before we get to the big scary dinosaurs. I mean, aside
True.
from the
Mhm.
opening scene, we see a lot of beautiful shots of dinosaurs, like
Yeah.
these non-threatening, like herbivores, kind of like running, you know,
Mhm.
through the prairies and stuff, and just, you know, these soft moments, like with a little kid, the one sneezes on him and it's kind of funny and everything, but it's also sort of touching. There's like the sunrise. We don't have any of that really in this
Mm-mm.
movie. And we haven't for a long time. And I think there could be something to be said for, if you somehow work this into the script or the theme, that they've weeded out all of the subtlety and romance of it to focus on
Yeah.
the stuff that's
They're
really
in a
going to
hurry.
grab you and terrify
There's nothing
you.
subtle here.
No,
How about
they're
that?
in such a hurry to do every little thing
I
in the
know.
whole wide world.
How about that scene where the T-Rex goes through that round circle thing?
Oh my
Yeah,
Almost,
yeah.
oh.
Come on.
Subtle.
I think
Just
it's
to look like this.
Why'd you remind me of that? For
it's
Christ's
the
sake, I
it
forgot
literally
about
yeah, they literally
Yeah.
tossed that
The
caveat
only
in there.
I mean, other than the Howard Waters scene, the only dinosaur scene I thought had some teeth to it was the feathered raptor on the ice, like
Mhm.
because
I
it kind of
guess.
does that WTF moment of diving into the water where
It's
it's
a
like
bird that swims.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
like we talked about on Top Gun, where there's the one F-bomb of the 5th generation fighter doing that pancake move to get out of the way, because when the raptor goes underwater, you're like, what the fuck? Like
Yeah,
Chris Pratt's dead now, and like
And-
of course he's Chris Pratt, and he's gonna make it.
Dude's running on ice and he jumped. Not okay. I could see running on ice,
Yeah.
but he jumps. How are you not going to fall through the ice? And I'm
I
sorry.
know.
When he
And then-
the
lands,
logic
and
is
then-
probably the coolest.
And then
thing.
how is she going to pull him up?
Ugh.
I don't know.
Let-
I get,
Is
you know,
there-
I liked how the dinosaurs waited for like them to pull each other up too, because like it
course.
seemed like they just instantly were up there.
It
Like,
would be awesome if she
or
pulled him up
something.
and he was only half there.
Oh, it's a relic, man.
But
yeah.
you know, to that point, I mean, this, as we meant, we kind of opened the show talking about this movie made $400 million worldwide. Now, and
No
like
surprise.
Don, I'm curious to see what weekend number 2 is going to look like. Top
Ooh,
Gun has had one of the
70% drop.
famous lowest drop-offs
Yeah.
from week to week to week. I mean, people are still going to see this. It's like $700 million
Yeah.
globally. We haven't seen that from a non-comic book or
Yeah.
movie in a long time.
Or a Tom Cruise movie.
Everything
Right.
everywhere all at once actually made more money in its second, third weekends than it did its opening week.
I
There
predict
you go.
70% plus drop on this one.
Mm.
I
Right,
agree.
But here's the thing. It feels like this is a safe movie that had to have a happy ending. Whereas Jurassic Park has it's got a happy-ish ending. The main characters survive, they fly off into the sunset, but they've been through some really dark things.
Yeah.
I wonder if this movie would be more successful if they decided not to play it safe. What if you killed off Chris Pratt and Jeff Goldblum and one of the new cast members? Like, everybody kind of gets out of there, but they've
Skin
lost
to their teeth.
something and
Right.
someone. Because I feel like you would have had people coming out of the theater and someone said, "So how's that new Jurassic World movie? Looks pretty dumb." They're like, "Dude, they killed everybody."
Yeah.
they had to go
Like,
see it.
That's water cooler
Yeah.
stuff there, man. Yeah.
Yeah, you have
Right.
them in the helicopter all crying. That would be awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. but
right as
you-
the helicopter takes off, the T-Rex jumps up and gets a
Or
big
that,
bite out of it.
that water creature comes and takes them all.
Yeah.
all three Jurassic World films, I think, suffer from, and it's not just Jurassic World films, but it's action films in general, or thrillers in general, especially some of these genre ones I've noticed lately. They don't give you the quiet moments. You mentioned it. Jurassic Park is a thriller, almost borderline horror film. I'm a horror fan, and I would say you could say Jurassic Park is a horror film, okay?
Totally.
But you have moments to where they're not doing flashy stuff. Like we said, there's a scene in the tree. There's a beat to where they're studying and taking times with their line delivery, dealing with the eggs.
Yeah.
All three Jurassic World films go bam, 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 bam. You get maybe that much of a beat to take a breath, but otherwise everything is, it's like you don't get, even in here where you might have had some moments to build up a little bit more of a tension or whatnot between Maze and Owen, and that dynamic, build up just how kind of dysfunctional that dynamic is. You don't get that. You get it about 3 minutes of that total before you've got the kidnappers showing up, kidnapping the clone girl and Beta, already. But I mean, there's not you don't have those breaths. You had a lot of those in Jurassic Park, yet you still had your tension and you still kept the dinosaurs magic. And I'm going to say it right now that while I didn't quite care for the fact they reused the theme so much, it is an awesome theme. I missed it entirely in here, the Jurassic Park theme, because that music in even the first 3 films, that helped create the tension and the emotion of the scene. And you could barely hear the score in this. I barely heard any score because it's so filled with sound. It's filled with action. There are numerous cuts within 15 seconds of the film. You bang, 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 bang. It's like,
I would love to see the shot length number on this one for the sim.
No, I'm gonna put my old man pants on since I turned 40 at the end of this month. But I think it's a generational thing. I really do, because as I've been watching my kids watch movies, this is a TikTok generation. They need stuff in 15 seconds, and it has to be loud, and you have to move on, and you have to keep going. There is a time. What Mark's talking about, there is a time when you don't have that chance to breathe. It can be done artistically. Like Uncut Gems to me is a movie where you can't breathe, but that's part of the plot of the movie. Is you're like, holy shit, I cannot believe this guy. Like, I can't breathe. Can he breathe? That's something that is done for an artistic purpose. This seems to be like 4 quadrant. Let's make this as
trying to be a James Bond movie.
It was. There was a little bit of James Bond, a little bit of Indiana Jones, a little bit of, like, even as much as I don't want to think of it, like, but there's like a Marvel effect in it. They want to have a universe that's connected. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I think it's for that, like I said, the 4 quadrants and getting stuff out. Like, there is no time to breathe, because that's what audiences, I feel, in general these days need, that concussive, nonstop, like, dopamine hit of stuff.
Well, here's my challenge to you, Will, and it's not exactly a challenge, it's a question. I agree, because TikTok is everything, and these these kind of quick little hits of entertainment. But is it that a movie like Jurassic Park from 1993, if you were to put that out today, are you saying that would not work?
I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but it depends, because we do have connections to this stuff. I think it was Mike. Mike, were you the one who recently watched Top Gun and having not have seen it as a kid?
It was. Yeah, Mike. I never saw it as a kid. So it's like when I saw it, I kind of just knew it just through all the memes and stuff,
Yeah,
right. But I'm not saying the movie doesn't work, because I showed my daughter Top Gun and she loved it. She wanted to see it works, but, like, for instance, I took my kids to see Raiders of the Lost Ark 2 Father's Days ago. Like for my Father's Day, I'm like, we're gonna go see it. You're going with me.
Today's the anniversary of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
If you recall, the first hour of that movie, there's not a lot that happens in terms of action. It's a lot of setup, plot, character. I honestly don't think Jurassic Park would hit as hard. I've seen it in other ways. Like, I took a girlfriend at a time. I was so excited. I took her to see Halloween. Like, they were putting it on the big screen.
Like a re-release or something?
It was a re-release of the original
anniversary,
which is a perfect example of environment and building tension and not much happening. And I just remember her being bored, and she was just like, a lot of people in the audience were kind of laughing. Like, they were like, oh, what's going to happen in this movie? There's no bloodshed. I'm not saying Jurassic Park wouldn't work, because it's Spielberg and he's brilliant. But the type of movie, I don't know. Like I've revisited a lot of stuff recently. I've been trying to fill blind spots with things like Tony Scott and other things. There is a level, even go back to something like Independence Day, it's a big crowd pleaser. It takes about 45 minutes for that movie to kick into action mode.
Oh yeah. They don't blow a city up for 45 minutes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you just get to know. That's why that movie worked. You got to know the characters.
Awesome.
Like
exactly. I'm not saying Jurassic Park wouldn't work because it's Spielberg, but I think that type of movie, the way they made movies back then, would not work today.
Well, that's what I wanted getting at, because I believe the executives believe that, and that's why they're greenlighting this stuff. I don't know there's a way to really test this necessarily in the marketplace. Because it's like, if you expect, TikTok is huge, that means that people are not going to be able to, enjoy stuff that's paced well and all that stuff. But again, they're also putting out 3-hour movies. Like the #1 movie in history is Avengers Endgame. And that's not necessarily wall-to-wall action. There's a lot of it, but there's a lot of plot and jumping around and stuff like that. So it's a confusing time. And it's strange because, again, I don't want to have to write this stuff off as like, I'm not going to go see Jurassic Park 6, because if I had said that about Jurassic Park 5, I would have missed out on Fallen Kingdom, which is my second favorite of the entire quote unquote franchise.
Same here.
Well, we're gonna the next trilogy is gonna be Jurassic Universe, so they're gonna be
oh my god. Over under and how soon. Over under and how soon Universal pulls the trigger to be like, hey, we need
another one will come out within the next 5 years.
No, it'll be a series. No, they'll spin off series. They won't do the film anymore. They'll do they'll
Peacock.
They'll put out a series, because that's the trend.
Within 5 years.
It'll be
within 5 years. You're gonna have a spin-off series.
It'll be blue. It'll be called Blue and You.
I'll be the one that says over.
Yeah,
Blue's Clues.
The argument though that it's funny that you're saying like this generation is TikTok and all that, because I think a lot of producers can make the argument, this is the MTV generation, and if you look at the Batman franchise, like after the original Batman, all the other ones are extremely fast paced. So here comes Christopher Nolan. He creates Batman Begins, a slower pace. Everybody likes it. And then now everyone wants to create a reboot or an origin story. So it's always been made for short attention spans. It just kind of changed at a certain point.
At the end of this movie, how cool would it have been if you're returning Beta to Blue, right? And it would
Blue
be
eats Beta.
That's what I'm saying. It would be a great reminder that, look, these are still animals. It's no matter how you train them. If Blue would have just devoured Bryce Dallas Howard, Chris Pratt, and the clone kid, blah, 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 blah. That's awesome.
Did you say that again?
You think the clone girl is safe and just crashes through?
Well, that's me with the hand move. Like one time, can somebody bite the damn Owen hand off?
Oh, come on.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah.
How about when they did the whole triangle with the clone kid and Sam Neill doing the? I'm like, hey,
what are you, Professor X? Get out of here!
What are you, 11?
Are you Magneto? Come on.
It would be great if their nose bled.
That's just a secret move for anyone. Just put your hands out and,
wish that worked.
I mean, this time the special effects department doesn't take care of it. It's just.
And I do want to say, too, that I think
there's not a glowy thing coming out of his hand.
I do think the biggest crime of this trilogy of movies to me is Chris Pratt, because I think that, other than one line in the first Jurassic World, it reminds me of when they tried to make Ben Affleck an action star. They took none of what makes him a great actor.
Was that Reindeer Games?
Reindeer Games and Armageddon was the big one to me, because it was let's have Ben Affleck jump around oil rigs and stuff. But when it was really he was in indie comedies and he has a great delivery. For Chris Pratt, he's very good at being vulnerable, and he's got great comedy, great comic timing. You got to use those. They never use his comedy, and they never use his vulnerability. He's just the slack-jawed Indiana Jones wannabe.
What's the great thing about Star-Lord? His insecurity.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. That's what made him an all-time character for me. You guys know how I feel about Star-Lord. I put him up there with Solo and Jones, but
I think Pratt he's got a tremendous look, and I think that's pretty much what got him this and the success of like Guardians of the Galaxy and all of that. But yeah, I agree. He's completely wasted. I mean, I've been a fan of his since he was on a CW show called Everwood back in 2000.
There
This is
you go.
before Parks and Rec.
Digging back.
I didn't realize I saw him in the, what was this thing, like VH1 would have this thing called like I love the 80s and they do I love the 90s and like he was like one of the guys that
was a host.
That's hilarious.
I'll backtrack a little. You know what? It's not modern. It's not the technique that I think is lacking, especially with these last 3 films, and that has changed. It's the studios so afraid of taking a chance nowadays, and we hinted at it. It's not exactly the film. I think they're afraid to take risks, and the problem is if you do give them risks, your audience will eat it up. I mean, as far as technique goes, my kids sat through the long or Criterion collection of 7 Samurai because he dug the Magnificent Seven.
It's like 4 hours.
And while he wasn't like he dug it, he's watched other older films with me, and while they weren't mind-blowing for him, he enjoyed them even though they were slower paced than now. It's not that audience can't accept that or that they won't think that it's good. I think it's in the writing that there's no longer, they're so afraid of risk because every film now that might be big is thought of sequel, franchise, merchandise, IP, all these bigger genre films. Whereas when Jurassic Park came out, even, I mean, and Ian and I have had this discussion, especially about 80s films. And I apologize for sounding like a broken record and going off a little bit, but I'll come back around. Kevin Smith was interviewing Bruce Willis for the Die Hard, when they did the Die Hard movie together. And they talked about him doing Die Hard 2. And he dropped one line that actually makes a lot of sense. In the 80s, the sequel on the whole was still a foreign policy, a foreign concept. It was like you've got your chance to tell your story here, and who knows if you're actually going to do. They didn't plan ahead of time except for Back to the Future, and that was out of necessity because he was showing the 5 o'clock shadow and he was supposed to be 16 and he was looking like he was 30.
Sure, they're filming back to back.
Right, but that's why those trilogies are iconic as well, is because you got very few direct sequel films. So when they happened, you're like, holy crap. Now they legitimately plan it in the budget, in the shooting. We've got everybody here. We might as well shoot a trilogy. And by doing that, and we even talked about it with the Marvel films. You see this guy's contracted for 5 Marvel films. He's in this one. Well, he's not going to die, or he's going to at least show up in a... So that immediately takes away some of that thrill and that excitement of, is he going to make it?
And the fact that stuff is announced is just bonkers to me.
I know.
So there's no surprise.
I remember,
Spider-Man Homecoming.
After Infinity War came out,
Robert Downey Jr.
And I know we all know they were going to come back. I don't see it cynically. I see it as part of the story progression as a comic book reader. But there was a part when it's like, oh, by the way, Spider-Man, I think it was Far From Home was filmed. And you're like, okay, well, I guess, I mean, now I definitely know Spider-Man's coming back. I mean, you knew he was going to come back, but there is a teeny, I can suspend my disbelief a little bit for that. And this is the problem with a lot of studios. There's 2 things that are happening right now that are at war with each other right now with movies, current movies. You've got the Marvel method, which no one's really been able to replicate. And I think they have an excellent showrunner, to call it anything else, who knows how to keep it artistic and solid and not dip into just what people want to see. So Kevin Feige's great there. But you also got the Maverick thing going on now, which is you had Tom Cruise that did not want to make a sequel for 36 years. You do have a sequel, but it's so novel to have something come out as a sequel now. I mean, I know there's other examples. Blade Runner came out 30 something years after, blah, blah, blah. But Tron, Tron Legacy, stuff like that. But it's still such a novel idea that you can mine stories that don't have to be every single at 4 times a year. And Maverick's doing so well that I think that, when you see Jurassic World 3 and it's really, I mean, they never, like you said, they never take enough risks to make you think that, I guess Chris Pratt will come back. He could come back again. It could still be possible. I think, I don't know if audiences are rejecting it because I'm not like an elitist person. You guys know that I defend lower art and niche stuff. But I will say, when I was sitting in the theater, I usually get to the theater like 10 minutes early, and I'm sitting in the theater with everybody, and there's like an M&M's commercial on, and the crowd is howling at the comedy in this M&M's commercial, and I'm sitting there going like, what the hell am I doing? Like I felt like I was on a foreign
out of
planet.
touch.
Yeah, and I was, because they were like, there's a, I don't know if you guys have it over there. There's like this M&M's commercial where like they're pretending to be like spies, and
Right.
the guy will go, here's your mission. He goes, no, that's an envelope. And I mean,
that commercial is like 5 years old.
I know. The crowd was clapping and hooting and hollering and falling over in their seats, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, what am I doing?
Maybe you should go to movies stoned like they did.
There's the answer.
But yeah,
I'm
just saying that kind of supports the theory that like anyone can watch. I think that this is built for a very general audience that does not have a lot of expectations.
4 quadrants. Yeah.
4 quadrants. Yeah. And another example I can come up with, I won't dominate this, I'll be quiet after this, but I think it's good for art when you have people that hate it. Like for me, like maybe not in Star Wars case because the fans are pretty toxic, but like there's people that hate the Matrix sequels and there's people that love them, and it's remained relevant in the discussion 20 years after they've come out because they took risks, they did something different. They were like, hey, we're going to make a big budget movie about all this bullshit philosophy stuff. And they took a risk, and it does pay off in the end because it remains relevant, because people always go like, oh yeah, Matrix Revolutions, yeah, that sucked. Or someone would be like, oh, actually I thought that was pretty good. And then you still talk about it today, you know?
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. I've been rewatching The Phantom Menace, and I'm like, you know what? That movie wasn't bad.
No,
I don't mind it a bit.
It took some risks, like you said.
You
like
kill off Qui-Gon Jinn, you got balls there.
Just think of the world building. You don't have
totally
everywhere.
Excellent. It's an old fashioned.
And they're talking about trade tariffs, and I'm like, why do I care about these politics? But then how you see it clicks in the grand scheme of things. It's like it is kind of an interesting. Like, yes, it meanders and it has its flaws, but it's not bad. I look at it and I go back at Roger Ebert's reviews, and I'm like, oh, he was right. I'm stupid.
Didn't he give it like
right? I'm stupid.
Didn't he give it like 3.5 stars?
Something.
Yeah. Going back to what Mark was saying about the directors here and everything. This, while you were talking, it reminded me that this trilogy is much like the new trilogy for Star Wars, and I know Will mention that as well as for this specific movie. But think about this. I liken this to Dominion a lot to Rise of Skywalker, because you had the same director from the first entry in the new trilogy come back, Trevorrow. Who shouldn't have come back. Not that he's a hack or anything, but we need. I know it's debatable.
I miss you, not guaranteed.
But look, Abrams coming back and doing Rise of Skywalker did no favors to the overall story or continuing some of the things from Last Jedi. Trevorrow coming back into this trilogy did no favors to what was accomplished in Fallen Kingdom, which pushed the horror element, and just look, it's just kind of more of the same from Jurassic World. Not just that, but 2.5 hours of it. So it's like, it was it a safe bet to bring back Abrams and Star Wars? Sure. Safe bet for Trevorrow? Sure. But
isn't that ironic too? Because wasn't Trevorrow fired from Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah,
he was to make Duel of the Fates, and it had some better ideas, but it still wouldn't have been that great because it's Colin Trevorrow. So,
well, I mean, Dave, I think that's a really good comparison. The main difference, though, I think, would be people. I know Star Wars is, it's kind of contentious. You got people who love it, people who hate it, and every attitude in between. But you do have a 40-year legacy of a story that people showed up because they wanted to see how this would all conclude. And the biggest criticism, and it was kind of laughed off as a conspiracy theory back in the days of, The Force Awakens, because people were like getting the sense that I don't know if this whole thing's been mapped out. It feels like they're flying by the seat of their pants. And they don't know where they're going movie to movie. Of course, after The Rise of Skywalker comes out and fails to resonate, except with derision, the people start to talk, and like, yeah, no one knew what the hell they were doing. JJ came in, and then Rian Johnson came in and, kind of shit the bed. In terms, I'm a Rise of Skywalker, I'm sorry, a Last Jedi defender as well. But there's no doubt that he upturned the chessboard, and forever, anyone who was going to come after would have to do something really creative. And that's why I was excited at the end of The Last Jedi, because I'm like, you could literally go anywhere after this.
Yeah.
Totally could.
But then they bring back JJ. Yeah, they bring back JJ Abrams, like, yeah, Palpatine. We're gonna resurrect Palpatine as a fortnight special scene. What?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the thing with Jurassic World, though. I don't think there was a plan, but also the stakes are a lot lower because, again, people still probably think of this movie as like, oh yeah, Chris Pratt was fighting dinosaurs instead of his character Owen. They don't know who the hell these people are. They probably remember the legacy characters that they brought back, and in my opinion, completely wasted. Like, I think Jeff Goldblum had one. It sounded like when Jeff Goldblum got to set, he was like, all right, now when you guys sent me the script, it just said, Ian Malcolm says something. And like, yeah, just do something Goldblum-y. Instead of writing, there's nothing in here that's memorable from his character specifically. And there was so much memorable dialogue from the original Jurassic Park that there's just nothing here. It's Jeff Goldblum, I'm sorry to say this is going to sound ageist, but I feel the same way about Indiana Jones. I love Harrison Ford. He was an iconic actor, but he is too old to be pulling this off because he just sounds freaking tired. That's
okay.
Although he's always sounded tired.
I'll take tired Indiana Jones. I mean, even when you hear Mark Hamill's impersonation of Harrison Ford, he's like, "Hey kid."
No, but there's a difference between seeing the roguish kind of like, I don't want to be here Han Solo, and seeing it's weird because Harrison Ford had more vim and vigor in him in The Force Awakens than he did in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And that might have come down to screenplay, but in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he looked like he was about 85 years old. And by the time the next Indiana Jones movie comes out, he's going to be like 80, pushing up there.
Yeah.
And I've seen him in interviews and stuff, and it's like, is hanging up.
Because Harrison Ford knew the best thing for the character was to die. Should have died in Return of the Jedi. Didn't.
Yep.
He knew that, and I really think, like, to me, I like Force Awakens. It's my second favorite Star Wars movie, and I think it succeeds because of Ford. I think he felt renewed by the fact that he was like, okay, I get to play this character. Well, Force Awakens, he comes back as they just woke him up out of his trailer and were like, here, stand here, you're a ghost, I think. But
you mean Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker.
He didn't even shave for the scene. He's just
ghosts don't need to shave.
But basically, he essentially was like, okay, one last go at this character.
Yeah.
Like, there is,
but I have to die.
There's so much energy in his performance in Force Awakens. Like, I love the stuff. I love how he still talks to Chewie the same way.
His stuff with Rey is great.
So I think it's like you said, it's because they gave him the opportunity. They said, we're going to kill you, so like go out with a bang. And that's one of the only things I really even remember about the sequel trilogy. It's Harrison Ford in those movies. So it does come down to like, and I think Chris Pratt, he doesn't look bored, but I don't feel like he's giving anything because he's just getting paid to do another one of these movies. Like there is that element, like Ian's talking about, of you look tired or bored.
Well, I think he's also the 8th main character in this.
Well, they don't give his character throughout all the 3 films. He does not change.
No.
Unfortunately, but there was opportunity. They hint at it in the first one when he's with D'Onofrio, and D'Onofrio's talking about,
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, putting it out and putting these dinosaurs out in the field and training them as raptors in the military. Rappers, yeah.
Rappers. Velociraptors.
Velociraptors. But
that's gotta be a character in Parappa the Rapper.
There you go.
Oh no.
He had a little bit of character in there, in that he was like, what do you mean you're training them to, he had a connection with him. He was doing a naturalist thing because he's like, by training these velociraptors, maybe I can keep them from killing people all over. And you've got his boss saying, well, no, we're gonna send these suckers out into the field and command them to kill a whole bunch of people, and he put up a little protest. Pratt shows a little emotion there. He puts up
Mhm.
a little, like, what do you mean? But they never do anything
No.
with that after that. Unfortunately, it's like, oh no, we're giving him too much. No. Meanwhile, Bryce Dallas Howard, mad respect for her, but she's running around in the woods for that whole movie in heels continuously, right? I mean, they just don't. They're churning out a product. The studios are churning out a product, and it's getting to where they're just looking for the next buck, and it's lacking because there's potential with all three of these to be a really solid trilogy. I mean, it's dinosaurs. How do you screw up?
I know, that's an amazing thing.
Dinosaurs.
The answer is like this.
Here's the thing, like, it's called Jurassic World Dominion. I feel like we've been kind of building towards this.
Yeah.
There's an idea that because they were on the island, then they got off the island, and now they're all over the world.
How?
Imagine if the entire plot of this movie, forget all the bias and nonsense and stuff that
Mhm.
we've seen before. What if it was just like not a series of heists, but there's the one, I think, iconic image of this movie is very early on during that news package where you see that skyscraper with the giant nest in it, and it looked like it was a nest made of like metal and parts, like, seen stuff from construction sites kind of made to look like a nest. What if Chris Pratt and his friends had to like go all over the world, like taking care of this dinosaur problems and getting them safely to like the dinosaur reserve, like getting the genie back in the bottle and trying to get that done? If it just been a series of mini adventures, without an overarching villain plot, you could have had something really kind of fun, almost an anthology film, and bring back the original characters and and have some of them even die heroically. I feel like there was a way that you could make this work, but my question is, yes, it's all about the almighty dollar, but a movie like this, I don't know what the budget was or the marketing and stuff, but is it going to make more than like $20 in profit? I mean, it's got to make so much money to justify it. But even if they come in like, hey, we made $50 million, is that enough when they want $100 million?
No, it's actually made on the cheap considering the movie. In all honesty,
185 is the cited budget I'm seeing on Wikipedia.
185?
185.
Yeah, that's cheap.
That's cheap. That's what I was saying for the film that it is, and the star power. That's actually on the cheap nowadays for this what this film is.
Yeah. That shows how easy it is now to do the CGI effects, I guess.
Even if you double that to say marketing, they've made their money back, which is
they've
all they need.
Sure. Right, but here's the thing: that's not
earning potential.
all they need to do, because every movie that comes out, they want to make their money back. They want to make more, and then they want to make more and more.
Right.
So I didn't know the thing was this. It's not a low budget film, but for a blockbuster, so 185 is. We're talking about like so used to talking about Marvel movies, like everything is $250 million plus.
I bet Lightyear costs more than this one.
Probably.
Well, with all the animation.
Yeah.
But so maybe maybe that explains it. Like, who cares? It's the Blumhouse of Jurassic World movies.
But I was just hoping for something a little bit more epic. You say Jurassic World. I mean, I remember the internet exploding when Fallen Kingdom came out. There was a lot of chatter for a while after it came out about the scene with the pterodactyls on the tower in Vegas.
Yeah.
People were excited. They're like, oh, we're going to get dinosaurs in the city. We're going to get dinosaurs. But that was the chatter in the movie groups for quite some time. People were actually excited by just that one scene.
And that was taken care of in the 4 years that we didn't see that led up to this movie.
I know. Missed opportunities. It's like the biggest ideas get shelved.
That's disappointing to me. I thought this movie, like after the end of Fallen Kingdom, was just going to be dinosaurs everywhere. Like there was more of a threat when the T-Rex got loose in Lost World and he's like in San Francisco, like eating people. Than like there was here. Like all I saw was like a news report with like pterodactyls.
That's another Star Wars thing. It reminds me of that between episodes 2 and 3. Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars have begun, and then the Clone Wars are done by the time you get to the next one.
You gotta watch.
That's why they have the cartoon show. Yeah,
you gotta watch the cartoon show.
But it is true. Like there was, I liked Fallen Kingdom 2 because it embraced how stupid it was at the end. It was like, you know what? Haunted house. We got Ted Levine doing Buffalo Bill like with Raptor. He's going, I got the Raptor Claw. You know, and then they had a haunted house thing. And then they end on that awesome thing of like dinosaurs in the real world. And I don't know if did you guys watch the prologue they released?
Battle
like,
at Big
6
Rock
months
or
ago?
whatever.
Battle at Big Rock?
Yeah,
no,
I
there
like
was
that.
a prologue. They released a prologue for this movie, and it showed. See, it's on YouTube. You can watch it. It's got like 10 million views. It was on Letterboxd, and then they took it off. But it's like it was like a prologue, and what it was is at first it showed you what the dinosaurs were doing 65 million years ago, showed them in their natural habitat, showed how they worked and everything, and then it fast forwards to the stuff you see in the commercials where the people are at the drive-in and the dinosaurs are coming through the drive-in, and then it's like to be continued in theaters, and you're like, that's not a bad start, and then they wipe that out.
I think I did see that.
Yeah.
But
So
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
ahead.
I was just going to say the battle at Big Rock had more interesting characters and excitement than a good chunk of this film, and they used footage from Battle of Big Rock in this film while they were doing the recap in the footage in the background.
That recap was great. I mean, that's what I wanted more of the dinosaurs chewing off people's heads and attacking people, and that's how Dominion
that should be the setup. Like, if
Agreed.
you think this is out of sight, wait till you see what we've got in the next 2 hours.
Right.
But
this should be like the nightmare of what could happen at Jurassic Park if it happened, and people
in the world,
there's just people getting eaten left
Take
and right. Woohoo!
And if you further, make it apocalyptic.
It's too bloody. They can't do
Right.
that.
It's been the threat since Jurassic Park in '93.
Yeah.
What happens if these things
they
get off the
just
island?
get off
Apparently,
the
the only
island.
thing that happens is we have to go back to a different island.
Right.
All right. Well, all right. So
just transport them there. They don't know how to swim, except for the swimming dinosaurs. But whatever. That requires too much logic for the writers.
That required, that was required. How good, if you want this to end on a happy note, and I know you want to end in Ian, but I was just saying, you could have easily, or a kind of a semi-dark note, you could have easily done your story of the dinosaurs across the world and freaking end up to where you're getting the inklings of a dinotopia, to where they figure out how to work with the dinosaurs together to build, whatever green structures or whatever. I mean, if you wanted to go there, because if you wanted to do a happy ending, but I didn't want a happy ending, but we should have got dinosaurs everywhere and exploring the various troubles that it is. Maybe someone's controlling them, kind of a la, Destroy All Monsters, the original one, where, fine, let's work aliens into it and they're controlling the dinosaurs.
Well, to what Will
Sip
had
that
said,
water,
like,
Mark. Sip that water. Okay.
What if it, instead of working together, you have a War of the Planet of the Apes situation where it's apocalyptic? Call this Jurassic World Extinction.
Yeah.
And what if humanity is driven underground and the only way to get rid of the dinosaurs is to this is just a dumb idea, but the meteorite wiped them out 65 million years ago. What if someone gets this crackpot idea to nuke the dinosaurs or something? What would that do to people and all that?
Or lure another meteorite,
Yeah, you get Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck up on the ship, and
come on,
Big
come
magnet.
on over.
Yeah.
Come on.
right.
Or you,
George
and you
Bailey
get
lassos the moon.
you get the raptors. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
They kind of did that with Reign of Fire. Do you guys remember Reign of Fire?
Yeah,
right,
I remember Reign of Fire.
That one, I don't think the technology at the time was advanced enough to really do some of the stuff they wanted to do then. But that's kind of the idea I was looking at, is like, let's hit like 4 years, like the and it follows with the original Jurassic Park, because the cool thing about the original Jurassic Park was first you got the people out in nature with the dinosaurs. And then when you think you're safe inside the buildings, they learn how to open doors and shit and do stuff like. So like this one it would make more sense if like dinosaurs just took over the earth, and we're dealing with like people being like, well, what the hell do we do now? We're all living in a cave, and we got Matthew McConaughey with the big cigar, the tattoos, and like that was what Reign of Fire was, just with dragons instead of the dinosaurs.
It's almost like the Aliens franchise. The whole idea of what have the xenomorphs got to Earth? This is sort of what that is like, I guess, except there's a lot more variety of the species and a lot more deadly.
Right.
All right. We could go on for another 65 million years talking about possibilities of how this movie could have been better. But I do want to say I appreciate all of you, hanging out and talking about this movie. I didn't know that there was going to be this much to discuss, honestly, because I had not a lot of thoughts on it, but I'm thinking a lot more about it now. But thank you all, and thank you for those who are watching. Thank you for LeDeshaun Williams III chiming in with your thoughts. And you out there, if you liked this conversation, please like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and support Earth's Mightiest Critics. All of our information is down below. But I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have Don Shanahan of 25 Years Later and Every Movie Has a Lesson and Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast. We also have David Fowley of Keeping It Real. We have Will Johnson of the Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast as well. We have Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck from the Spoiler Room and Special Mark Productions, and Mike Crowley joining us 65 million years late, sir, to the live stream of YPA Reviews and 25 Years Later. So thank you all, gang, for joining us. We've mentioned the movie Lightyear a couple of times on the podcast, and so I just want to take this time to say that next, not this coming Monday, not tomorrow or whenever, but the Monday after release, I think that's June 20th. We're going to be back here. That's Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central. There's going to be another live stream. Whoever wants to join me here, not everyone out there in YouTube land, but on this panel and the other critics.
I want Williams the Third or whatever. Like, let's have
Williamson.
Yes, Deshaun, please come back. We want to hear your thoughts on Lightyear, and we will indeed find out what it do. Until then, thank you everybody for joining. This has been Jurassic World Dominion, and hopefully we will not be talking about another Jurassic World movie ever again. But of course, this is Hollywood, so we'll be back in another 5 years. Have a decade at max.
Oh yeah,
my goodness, who's going to be? That's exactly the note to go out on. So thank you, Will. Let's do a chorus of the John Williams theme song. 1, 2, 3, and.